I want to talk today about the power crisis. And I think the word crisis is overused, but we are now at the position in New Zealand which has an abundance of production capacity in terms of hydropower. We've got a ton of wind. We've got some challenges in terms of getting power around the country because of our geography, topography, whatever you want to call it. But we are now at the stage where businesses are shutting down, at least in part, because of a lack of reasonably priced electricity and power. This seems crazy to me and also deeply, deeply concerning. So what is the answer, or what solutions do we have? I thought someone who might have an interesting perspective on this is someone who has, about 25 years ago, was in charge of our energy policy, and I would say was quite harshly criticised for some of the changes he made to bring market disciplines to the electricity market. He is former National Party Cabinet Minister Max Bradford, and he joins us on the line now. Max, lovely to talk to you again. How are you?
No, very well, Sean. Thanks. And nice to talk to you too after all these years.
All right. What's gone right? Would you agree there's something pretty wrong with our power market at the moment and our power system at the moment when we see outfits like Winston's closing down?
Well, I won't be popular for saying this, but basically the market is working as it was designed to do. It's a market, New Zealand's market is bog standard by world standards.
Right.
And we don't do things much differently than anybody else. But what we, in 4 and 8 years, we get a crisis. And that comes because it hasn't rained, or it's not blowing, or there's not enough sun, or somehow or other we don't have enough gas. And those problems tend to be very short-term. The wholesale market, which is where the high prices are, really reflects the fact that the generators can't generate enough electricity because there is a shortage of the primary energy. And that's going to get worse over time. It wasn't a problem when I was doing the reforms in the late 1990s. We had plenty of power. Climate change and all those sorts of crises were not a thing on the government's agenda, and therefore we could build coal-fired power stations and so on without a problem. We've got plenty of coal in this country, but we are not allowed to use it. Same for gas now. So essentially, while the market is working, and that every time we have these crises of primary energy, the wholesale power price goes up pretty significantly. That happens around the rest of the world as well. But the one thing that we miss in New Zealand is that most other countries in Europe and Asia, and certainly in the United States, have got access to other countries' generation capacity because they're in an integrated energy market.
Right. Actually, I've never seen it like that. We are out on our own because we're so far away.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting. I've never thought about that.
Yeah, we're an island nation. So, the best example at the moment is in Ireland, where they're committing enormous resources to wind power, and they've got plenty of wind, but they're going to suffer the same problem that we occasionally suffer from, and that is the wind doesn't blow. But what they do when they run out of power is that they simply ring up, and this is a sort of an example of what can happen, but they ring up the French nuclear power generator and say, oh, look, we're a bit short of power today, can you let us have some? So it comes across their wires. We don't have that capacity in New Zealand. We have to generate everything ourselves. And that, as I say, happens every 4 to 8 years. It's been happening like that since the 1940s. And we have to find another solution than that most other countries can find by dialing into somebody else's power
because they've got mates and they've got neighbours they can borrow the proverbial cup of power from.
Yeah, exactly.
What is the answer then, Max? Do we build more dams? Do we open up the gas?
No, the answer traditionally has been to rely on fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Because at least the supply of those fossil fuels is generally pretty reliable.
Yeah.
That's why we burn coal every so often. In Huntley, that's why we've been using gas, which is used to what they call firm up the system. But we're running out of gas. We're not, until the recent government change, the country's not allowed to drill for more gas. And it will be some time before we find more supplies. And in the meantime, we'll continue to use coal, which still can't provide enough to cover the gap between the lack of renewables. So I've argued for the last few months that we should be looking, as a country, very seriously at the significant developments that are going on in particularly in America, but also in Europe, for small, safe, reliable nuclear energy, which is in development at the moment. It's a new form of nuclear energy. It's regarded by many green parties in Europe, for example, as clean, green, renewable power. And within 10 years, it will become a source of reasonably priced nuclear energy, which is stable, which can be plugged into the system when we run out of the primary energy sources that we.
Okay. Well, how is it different from, I don't know, 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl? How does this new technology work in a nutshell?
Well, look, I'm not a nuclear scientist, but the International Energy Agency, which is the body that looks at this sort of thing internationally, says it's a completely new, different form of energy from 3 Mile Island or Chernobyl or all those Fujiyama, which are, have been disasters one way or another.
Yeah.
For a start, those plants are well in excess of 1 million megawatts, not 1 million, 1,000 to 3,000 megawatt generation. They're very, very big and expensive plants. The new form of generation will be between 300 and 500 megawatts, which is about the size of a new station that we would be looking to build in New Zealand in some form. There's big developments going on. It's a different form of generating nuclear power, or generating the heat that drives the generators, than has been the case in the past. And it's being looked upon very positively by most countries as a way out of the renewable electricity dilemma of not having the primary energy.